home theater, you know.
Right. Well, tell me if I need to doll up and meet you.
Huh?
Tell me if I need to doll up and meet you.
I'm telling you what, I asked Travis earlier if he wanted me to get him credentials to come down there.
We're going to go live right in
So you can go see
about
him,
now
because it'll blow you away.
Okay.
with no music.
All right.
See if that
Love
works.
you guys. Be good.
No,
All right.
that's
Right.
it.
Have a great show. I'll be listening.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll be listening and typing.
That's my good side.
Hopefully this will work.
Gosh, I should have went longer.
I completely.
That intro didn't work. We'll see if that works. Live from the mighty Wiedwerks Airship, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Verks Unlimited Limited, better known as Wiedwerks.
And I'm Julie Richardson, Director of Commercialization and Promotions. And today we have the very important show. This is our second annual Expungement Week going on in Denver on the 21st of September. And we have with us Canafam, Melanie Rose Rodgers, and Ebene Miller. And we have worked as a team over the past few years with different legislation and different things going on within the community. And this is something I am very excited to support again this year.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I feel like if we don't do our due diligence and use the tools that we have to support each other, then why are we doing it? And so,
Absolutely.
we need to apologize. We've had some technical difficulties this afternoon. Are we able to, or do we even dare try to make a Skype call?
You guys keep talking and I'll work on it, I guess.
Okay. So here in a few minutes, what we're talking about is we would like Amber Wan to be able to call in on Skype and do an update on the Green Crayon campaign.
You know what? We're not going to be able to do it today.
We're
I'm
not going to
sorry.
be able to do it?
Okay.
Sorry, Amber. Oh my goodness.
All right, so I will update you. What
Yeah.
we're doing, instead of sending it to this unresponsive school board superintendent, we need the green crayons to go directly to Governor Polis's office. If you need green crayons, if you need a copy of it, we'll have all of that in the comments and the link to go to. I believe the site was down for a little while last week, but definitely we need your support. And it's important that we start in the Denver area and we start with Governor Polis, because it isn't just Douglas County. It's all of the counties and all of the school boards.
Absolutely. I mean, if I'm not a parent yet, but if I was, just like knowing what, these parents are going through. Again, life-saving rescue meds aren't allowed on school district property in rescue, not even to be taken daily. And then the parent can't get the meeting with the person who's blocking the entire situation. It's beyond me what's happening over there. And so, yes, the need for us to, rally together and to take action.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and we're getting traction, and we need everybody to do. If you don't want to send in a crayon, okay, I think it'd be hysterical for Governor Polis to have like a huge container or something of
Right.
just nothing but green crayons. I think that just sounds fabulous. Let's do that.
Right.
But if you don't want to, okay, I'm cool with that. Just call his office and say I stand with Ben Wan. Okay,
Yes,
it's
I
up.
stand with Ben Wan.
Yes, I stand with Ben Wan.
And hashtag I stand with Ben and I stand with Ben, the Facebook page.
Yes. All right, so let's get to the second annual National Expungement Week. What we're doing there's a whole lot going on.
Yes.
First, why don't you go over what it is? What are we talking about?
So National Expungement Week happened back in 2018. It's a very new program, and it's in 13 cities, 15.
In 2018, there were 15 states.
Yes.
15
cities.
Last year.
And
15
how
cities
many
last
this year?
So this year it is,
We're over 30.
33.
I think so.
But, over 30. Over 30.
Yeah. So that's doubled in year
Yeah.
2.
As
That's huge.
Yeah, as more states come online, they're recognizing that, people of color got not only left out of the conversation, but also still stuck in jail. So we want to, some states can only expunge and others can record seal, and Colorado is one of those record sealing states.
I gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I think if you look at the headlines and if you're following, what's happening in the news, you'll see that states like Illinois are baking in these fully legalized programs, these automatic expungements we've been hearing about here in Colorado. And, kudos to them and shout outs that now, but being the first state to legalize, to go fully adult use, and having a, very robust medical program, we kind of didn't get that right the first time. And so we didn't have auto expungements, we didn't have record sealing, and there's still many people that aren't allowed to participate in voting, federal housing, federal education, housing opportunities, because you have to check that box.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I come from a for-profit prison state, and one of the things that I worked on while I was there, because I was doing veterans work, and I was trying to keep the recruiters out of the low-income Black communities,
Right.
because I felt like those kids were being lied to. For the most part, they weren't getting the education and the travel and whatever. But there was such a high incidence of police presence. Another thing that was real predominant, one of my sons fixed cars, and one of his best friends was a young Black boy. They were pulled over anytime they were together because it looks like a drug deal in the police officers' minds. And what people don't understand how this ties into the for-profit prison is that's a money-making system that they have there, and they target communities that don't have the funds to fight it. Literally.
Absolutely. It's so true.
It's if you go into these communities, a lot of times it's a single mother, they have to get the legal aid. It's not the best form of, so they just have to serve the sentence and take the punishment, whether or not they did the crime.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while, all that has happened, one way that we can step up as, an industry, when we look around the room and we want to have everyone at the table, we want to make things right that we didn't get right the first time. You can say this is definitely an event and week of events happening across the country, which is so exciting that to double up from having 15 participating states in National Expungement Week its first year to now 30 plus and counting. I mean, I was down at the Southern Hemp Expo, and people in Tennessee and Kentucky really need this there too. And so that's something that I'm already thinking of how to help them, and there's some people there, so they just need to get organized and have some time, and they too can participate. So you too can participate. Like if you're out there and wondering how can National Expungement Week come to my city, you can start it. And you can get involved. Yes.
What are some very minor things that would stop somebody from getting into the industry that might be on a record?
Yeah.
Would something like trespassing, possession?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to rephrase the question, so I had to think about that. So
Okay.
So yes, things of that nature in House Bill, I want to make sure I get this right, 19-1275. They actually revised some of this for individuals who have records. And unfortunately, right now, like I said, one of those barriers would be that, like trespassing, small drug possession. We have misdemeanors here. It depends on the schedule of your misdemeanor, as well as so here you can have a class 2 or class 3 misdemeanor or drug misdemeanor 2 years after your final disposition or release from suspension in order to get your record sealed. So it depends on what level of felony and misdemeanor you have in order for it to get expunged.
And which makes it, again, why we need to get the word out, because it is so customized. But for the first time, we have resources where we can see where we're changing our drug reform policy in the state of Colorado. And now we're just able to now have these discussions and to provide free legal services to those who qualify. And to find out if you can qualify, I would say, start a conversation, come to the event, gather this information, because of everyone's story and where it happened, and what was involved in your case. This is all pertaining to what happens next. But
Yes, and this packet here is what we've been going over. We actually have a legal training on the 18th that we are going to be taking. So
Yes.
the lawyers will be training us up in Boulder.
there's 30 lawyers coming to the table that also are participating in National Expungement Week, which just shows that the more that people understand the war on drugs, why we look around the room and it's not all diverse, why people don't have the same equitable options and opportunity to come to the table to participate in this booming industry. It starts with understanding our past and also, what's been done to, majority Black and brown communities.
Right. Are we able to play that video?
I think maybe we are. Let's
Okay,
see.
let's
Cross
see.
Everybody cross your
Let's-
fingers.
Hopefully we can. in
Oh
this
my
video.
goodness.
Okay, you can back it up.
Here we go.
Okay.
In the state of Colorado, people of color are 3 times more likely than whites to be arrested and charged for cannabis-related incidents. The passing of Amendment 64 was intended to remedy this racial disparity in arrests.
Personnel on staff to really make sure this is the biggest celebration of cannabis across the nation.
And the cop pulls me over, and we go through the process. I tell him I don't want to take the breathalyzer.
He was younger in age and he had marijuana on him.
I was pretty much one of the only darker colored people in the area.
He tells me, okay, well, I'll just take you down and arrest you.
And he was arrested at that point.
And because of that, I got arrested twice, actually, for possession of marijuana under 50 grams.
He actually goes in my glove box. And I had a half a pound of weed in the glove box.
The arrest was actually pretty physical. They actually jerked me out of the car and threw me to the ground and had a knee in my back.
That was THC, marijuana, a decriminalized drug.
The same cop pulls me over again, and the first thing he tells me, I just basically do what you and just was hoping I was going to find something. Okay, so first of all, you profiled.
I definitely had bruises and I was sore for the next few days.
They ended up changing my charge to a DUI, and my license was withheld all the way until now to this present day over the same charge.
Suspension of my license and probation, community hours.
I've seen white kids sell hard drugs and not get into the same trouble that these kids got into.
Cannabis prohibition in the United States first came about in 1937 with the Marijuana Tax Act. It was really largely the result of one person named Anslinger, who really without much national fervor managed to convince Congress to make marijuana a prohibited substance in the United States. His doing so was explicitly racist against African Americans, against Mexican Americans, and a big part of the justification that he put forward was marijuana is going to be a threat to white people. Marijuana has been a criminal substance in the United States since the passage of the Controlled Substances Act in 1970. Really pretty explicitly a reaction against the 1960s and the drug culture. Race clearly did play a role in the passage of the Controlled Substances Act. It was less overt than it had been in the 1930s, but one of Richard Nixon's chief aides said that it was really seen in the Nixon White House as a way to get at his political opponents. That is, Nixon, I think, said to one of his advisors, well, we can't criminalize people for being against the war, and we can't criminalize people for being black, but we can criminalize the use of marijuana and the use of heroin, and that's a way that we can get at groups that we don't like.
See? This is Yeah, we can pause it. But yeah, this is a video I was able to participate in at the end of last year, at the end of National Expungement Week, and I just got the link. So Kevin Stanton, he's a film student, and he has a film company business, and he sent me this link, and I was like, this is so timely because it really illustrates even Colorado statistics. And if you look at even bigger statistics with some of the stuff you had pulled up, especially from Drug Policy Alliance, I mean, the records of arrests versus Black and Brown and everyone else is just, you can't, once you see that, you can't deny that.
Yeah. I mean, you cannot deny it.
You cannot deny it.
Can we play the next one since it's working?
Yeah. Since it's working, let's do it.
It appears to be working, at least.
Because this is what I was talking about with Louisiana. He mentions this.
I think the video cut out for just a bit while we were playing that last video, but it seemed more like censorship type of stuff.
In 1986, when I was coming of age, Ronald Reagan doubled down on the war on drugs that had been started by Richard Nixon in 1971. Drugs were bad.
I'm going to redo it.
In 1986, when I was coming of age, Ronald Reagan doubled down on the war on drugs that had been started by Richard Nixon in 1971. Drugs were bad. Fried your brain. And drug dealers were monsters. The sole reason neighborhoods and major cities were failing. No one wanted to talk about Reaganomics and the ending of social safety nets, the defunding of schools and the loss of jobs in cities across America. Young men like me who hustled became the sole villain, and drug addicts lacked moral fortitude. In the 1990s, incarceration rates in the U.S. blew up. Today we imprison more people than any other country in the world. China, Russia, Iran, Cuba. All countries we consider autocratic and repressive. Yeah, more than them. Judges' hands were tied by tough on crime laws, and they were forced to hand out mandatory life sentences for simple possession and low-level drug sales. My home state of New York started this with Rockefeller laws. Then the feds made distinctions between people who sold powder cocaine and crack cocaine even though they were the same drug. Only difference is how you take it. And even though white people used and sold crack more than black people, somehow it was black people who went to prison. The media ignored actual data to this day. Crack is still talked about as a black problem. The NYPD raided our Brooklyn neighborhoods while Manhattan bankers openly used coke with impunity. The war on drugs exploded the U.S. prison population disproportionately, locking away black and Latinos. Our prison population grew more than 900%. When the war on drugs began in 1971, our prison population was 200,000. Today it is over 2 million. Long after the crack era ended, we continued our war on drugs. There were more than 1.5 million drug arrests in 2014. More than 80% were for possession only. Almost half were for marijuana. People are finally talking about treating addiction to harder drugs as a health crisis. But there's no compassionate language about drug dealers. Unless, of course, we're talking about places like Colorado, whose state economy got a huge boost by the above-ground marijuana industry. A few states south in Louisiana is still handing out mandatory sentences for people who sell weed. Despite a booming and celebrated 50 billion legal marijuana industry, most states still disproportionately hand out mandatory sentences to black and Latinos with drug cases. If you're entrepreneurial and live in one of the many states that are passing legalized laws, you may still face barriers participating in the above-ground economy. Venture capitalists migrate to these states to open multi-billion-dollar operations, but former felons can't open a dispensary. Lots of times those felonies were drug charges, caught by poor people who sold drugs for a living, but are now prohibited from participating in one of the fastest growing economies. Got it? In states like New York, where holding marijuana is no longer grounds for arrest, police issue possession citations in black and Latino neighborhoods at a far higher rate than other neighborhoods. Kids in Crown Heights are constantly stopped and ticketed for trees. Kids at dorms in Columbia, where rates of marijuana use are equal to or worse than those in the hood, are never targeted or ticketed. Rates of drug use are as high as they were when Nixon declared this so-called war in 1971. 45 years later, It's time to rethink our policies and laws. The war on drugs is an epic fail.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yep. Shout out to Drug Policy Alliance, Jay-Z, for putting this amazing illustration of.
Shout out to Jay-Z.
Shout out to Jay-Z.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, yeah, I was totally watching it.
Yeah, it sucks. Every time I see that, though, it makes me so upset that because of the color of my skin, the color of black and brown people's skin, we are just targeted and profiled in such a way. And I really feel a way that, now non-people of color, are coming into this industry, and like you said, the investments, and people are sitting in jail for 20 plus years, life, and they can't even make the millions of dollars that you've made on your own products. So it really breaks my heart. Mothers can't see their sons because, of this one minor possession. So this is why this type of program is really important for a lot of different people. They can get their families back, their life back. Like, imagine going
Their
to
dignity back.
Their dignity back, right? You're acting like you're, like a rapist or something, and that's not the case. Like, you had a minor possession and you lose your life for that. You don't get to go to school.
Yeah.
You can't start a family.
Yeah. And I've been a part of this, and working with different advocate groups in South Louisiana, and my co-workers will ride together, and we will be stopped, and they will search the black woman and give me the pass. Let me tell you, I'm the one that had it. And so, and they will let me walk right past, and stop and search, my black friends or Latino or whoever I'm with. And that just hurts my heart to have that happen, and because it's just absolutely blatant. So it's yes, I'll help you
So we're
fight
trying to do
this.
something about it.
Yes.
And thank you again for having us and for setting this up. But, we need to get the word out too. Because imagine all this stuff being like paper files. Like I remember even hearing some conversations where, and there's a whole organization, I think, I'm not going to say it but they're trying to figure out how do we do this with technology? How can we do these record sealing and auto expungements? And I guess in Colorado we have some challenges with just how do we map this out? How do we get to the people that need this?
Yeah, because as of right now, unfortunately, it's saying that you actually have to go in and actually formally file to get your record expunged. Which is why everyone should come on the 21st so that we can get your records expunged.
Well, when I was looking through it, I was really surprised at the fees and at the different procedures for different things that you have to do. And I can see how people could go, oh gosh, that's so hard. I don't know how to do that. It's so confusing. They made it confusing.
Right.
Yeah, it really is very confusing. So to have something like this where you can go in and sit down with a professional and they can go, oh, well, this is a $27 fine and file. But let's talk about the fees too. Does this cover any of that?
Oh,
Or are you
yes.
guys working on that?
Yes,
Or
we are.
Let's talk about,
Yes.
we need some money, honey.
Yes, please contribute and donate to cage-free cannabis.
Yes, and so we have raised some money right now, and what we're raising money for is going to be these legal services. Again, we have some 30 attorneys. Who knows if they'll all show up on the day, but the fact that 30 attorneys want to know how they can help. What is the process today in today's legislative landscape of prosecuting and doing record sealing, and how do we get to expungement? It's just so nice to know that there's a changing of the minds and the tides and these volunteers. It's a very volunteer-led organization. Ebene's on the team, myself, Rosalie Flores, who wasn't able to join us, and Sarah Woodson with Christian Campuses. And it's the four of us women coming together to put this on for its second year.
Right.
So
We're all different shades and beliefs and
All
backgrounds. And
different, beautiful
Right. We just want
shades.
everybody to be on an equal level playing field, you should be able, if you were good at something like growing, you should be able to come into this industry legally and be the master grower that, you've always wanted to be.
Well, and there's so much fear too.
Yes.
Because I know I've talked with other girlfriends and they're like, well, Julie, you can go and do this. I can't. I'm going to be targeted, and because that's a generational fear. And I know we've talked about this in the Latino community. Oh, get involved in cannabis, cursing your mother. Yeah. And it's the stigma that not just in this, but in those communities themselves. Of, what are you, crazy? Why are you doing this to yourself? You're ruining everything.
Right, culturally. And then and we all know someone who's either heard of someone, we all kind of know someone that's gotten either caught for possession, got caught with this plant, and like had to pay, and it's like two ways. Like, are you in a good enough place? Do you have support of a family to help bail you out, hire a lawyer, do this? Or are you going to like take a plea deal? Then that turns into this thing. And then you have like, $10,000, and it's just like you're in the system, you're in this thing. And then, like that other video, like we had shown, the chances of you getting profiled again and again, and just now that it's a vicious cycle.
Now that you're in the system.
Now that you're in the criminal justice system.
It's like getting a speeding ticket, and if there are no tickets on your record, they're like, well, I see that you've never had any tickets before, so this must be an exception. I'll let you go.
Right.
But
imagine,
once you get arrested once, I see you have a criminal record.
Yeah,
hiding
you're
anything in the car.
And then, not to, there are such things as quotas that, our, people out there on the field need to reach. And so, again,
is that real?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. For tickets and things, it's real. But again, just I can only imagine what some people go through, and grateful that I've, had never had that really happen to me, where I was like severely profiled, or that I do get, being an Asian woman, I do get that type of, kind of stereotypical things, or, especially now in this area of this, like, go back where you came from, like, is really, just, and then I look around the room, I look at in our industry, and I talk about diversity, and again, like, to understand why there isn't equal opportunity, you have to go back to like understand the history.
Well, I think you being Asian makes me more excited about you than anything, because we don't have a lot of Asian presence in the cannabis industry. I think I know maybe 3 or 4 that I would say were influencers, leaders.
Right.
And I mean, if you think about history-wise, and people of Asian descent and their use of cannabis medicinally, you guys should be ahead of the pack.
Right.
And it is just tragic that you're held back.
Right. And then, definitely. And then, like, I think, I'm just going to share, like, the president of the Philippines, I mean, his views on drugs and drug dealers and what's happening over there is very hard.
Duarte? Is that his name? Duterte?
Yeah.
Didn't he say that he uses cannabis?
He just recently said that.
He said that he uses cannabis, but he's still executing people for it. And he said that, like, I can handle it, but you guys can't.
And then just other drugs. Again, this whole meth, cocaine, like, that's out there as well. And just the war on drugs, just looking at drug, like, users, or just differently. Like, the way that we're just talking about drugs. It was all perpetuated with this fear, to divide us and to really marginalize more groups than others. And then I think if I look at even the Philippines, it's like worse. It's like it's taken that culture, but it's like turned it on its head very, and it's much severe too. Anyway, tangent, but yes, National Expungement Week. What to expect, I think, for people that are showing up, what's really important is, bring your ID. Yeah. If you don't have your records with you, we're going to have someone that can, if it takes time, but we can actually pull them. And so if you do say you have a couple charges, because sometimes it's not only one, like we just said, you're profiled, you might have this, it's on repeat, and you can bring them all. I would suggest coming early, because there's going to be more time that a lawyer is going to have to sit with you if there's multiple things that you're looking to see if you qualify to get records sealed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what else are you doing? You have something else going on there too.
Yeah,
Yes.
so Vanks is going to be coming by, and they're going to be doing job opportunity.
Vanks.
And like little, yes, Vanks.
VANGST.
A small training to tell people like how to get into the industry, because you must be badged, if most people who don't know, in order to work and touch the plant. And we're looking at getting somebody to do resume building. That's still in the works right now, but just that type of kind of career development into the cannabis industry. You want to build people's cases, because one of the biggest things I hear when I used to go on job interviews is that, you know, they would tell me my resume was so impressive, which would be like, okay, well, what are people coming to the table with their resumes? So, you know, we really want to prepare people for the workforce if this is where they truly want to be.
Yes, and then also our team, me, myself, Ebony, Rosalie, and Sarah are very also knowledgeable in what's happening with like the accelerator program. And so there's now with the legislative, we all helped kind of put a hand in and helped advocate for. We have now equitable options of entering the cannabis industry. You might have heard of the Cannabis Hospitality Bill. And shout out to everyone that worked on that and rallied at the Capitol. But there's these opportunities that are now available. And so we're going to have people at the event able to talk about that as well. This is really like community building and also being a resource, you know, for this record sealing and for legal services to communities that might not have this opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, or don't know where to start.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
Or don't know if you can start.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Because, I mean, how many of you really have just worried about something so much, thinking you couldn't do it, and then later found out it would have been so simple
Exactly.
and easy to do, and you let this monster right here talk you out of it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, the accelerator.
Now, what is the accelerator?
So the accelerator program is a state. It was put into the Sunset Bill, so that way we can actually include social equity into the conversation. So I'm Sarah. Well, Sarah will be there, but Rosalie and myself are on it, as well as Wanda James, Kelly Perez, Art Way Jr. So a few of us, when we applied for it, we got onto the accelerator program. So our main focus is to get people into this industry, so that way they can have licenses for delivery. They can have get micro licenses. Licenses. So
What are micro licenses? Tell us.
so micro license, say if you want to have like a cannabis coffee shop.
Yeah.
That would be a micro license, or like it would be like a 7-Eleven, and you can like sell. You can have a partnership with the dispensary, and you can like sell like little products here and there. I know Hotbox will be kind of falling under one of those in a sense. I don't know if you guys know about Hotbox.
Yes, they
It's
came
the
on
cutest
a couple
little
of weeks
thing.
ago.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
it's the cutest. I went
Smart
to the
guy,
opening.
too.
There's just
Yeah.
the cutest little, little
Really enjoyed
cartridges
having him
container. Yeah, so it was so cute, and they sold snacks there, and I was like, yeah, I'm here for the snacks. So, yeah,
on.
it's
No wonder I love you. I'm always there for snacks, too.
I'm here for the snacks. So, and it's portable, and it's just like things like that. So it's just really important to have Black and brown people in the discussion, because unfortunately, like Mel said earlier, we weren't at the table, so it's kind of hard to now go back and break down the barriers and build them back up for these programs. So it's from 9 to 11. It's in Lakewood at the MED office, and I'm really excited to see what's going to come from it, because we're all very hell-bent on making sure that social equity and inclusion will be in this bill. In the work group to be implemented.
Yes. And it's so important.
Right.
Yes.
And I definitely want to just say, too, if you're listening and you're in a state that doesn't have these programs, you can get involved. You can start with just contacting, your legislators, find out what's being done in the cannabis industry to make sure you can find out who's, having those conversations. And if no one is, you can start them.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to, like us, look back at our, very robust and already ingrained industry and try to make these changes. You can start this in your emerging markets right now, which I think is also very important. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we are missing just some really gold people by this type of, what would you call it? It's not censorship. Help me with the word.
I would say in a way it's a kind of a form of censorship. You know, you're being blocked out. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
there's no need for it.
yeah, especially when you're so good at something. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. But there are, I hear, some new equitable programs, like even people looking to hire within, to just do some outreach, go into people and search for the people that have, criminal records so that they can bring them on their team. There's some companies that everyone's saying that they're, going to do it, and I know we're building, but I do believe that there's never been a time where we've been talking about social justice, reparations. We even had that meeting up in Congress. That was an amazing judiciary committee where they talked, and they had experts talk even about the racial disparity that exists in our in our cannabis industry nationwide, which is pulling in billions of tax revenue. And when you look around, we are all now addressing the need to make sure everyone's included at the table. So that is, and the disparity of it all, things are changing. It is looking bright. We are, putting this on, and more cities are going to put this on. This is only its second annual National Expungement Week
Right.
yeah.
in the country. So
Well, and unfortunately, marijuana enforcement is doing what they can to push back against this as well. And
yeah.
what we're going through now is what we're finding out in the Latino community, that they're being scared into thinking that they're going to lose their citizenship and what have you.
Right.
And after all of the work that's been done, they're going to go in and do scare tactics like that. Oh, don't get in the can.
Yeah.
It's
This entire industry, though, has been built on scare tactics. If you
It
think
has.
of reefer madness, so I'm not so surprised that they're doing it. I almost want to
Fake
stand
madness.
up, yeah, be like, screw you! I'm standing up to your fake madness,
Right.
But I get it, especially when you throw in your U.S. citizenship on the,
Right.
as a thing that's negotiable. It's really hard.
Right. And the argument is, well, okay, you came in as a child and got your citizenship with your parents, but because cannabis isn't federally legal, you are violating your citizenship.
Right.
But they live in Colorado.
Exactly.
And so does that mean that a Latino child of maybe a grandparent of the one that was a refugee, they have autism or they have epilepsy? Does that mean that child, it shouldn't be a medical marijuana patient? I'm sorry, that's
Exactly.
not okay.
So this is next Saturday? Is that it? The
Yes.
21st?
Yes.
10 to 2
21st.
p.m.
Let's tell people, just in case they tuned in or this
Yeah.
is where they
Yeah.
decided. So next Saturday,
9/21/19 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Cross Purpose.
at where?
Cross Purpose.
Cross Purpose.
And the
The
address.
address
Do you have it?
is 3050 Richard Allen Court, Denver, Colorado 80205.
And what's an email address if people have questions?
If anybody has any questions, they can reach out to colorofcannabis@gmail.com. Again, that's colorofcannabis@gmail.com.
And I've got a Facebook link here, but if somebody just wants to search on Facebook, is there a way to find
Yes.
that Facebook page?
Yes, it's Denver National Expungement Week 2019.
Denver National Expungement Week.
Also, hashtag National Expungement Week. That's a way to kind of track everything. Because if you even Google National Expungement Week, it'll take you to the website, which is offtherecord.us. And just a big thank you to Cage Free Cannabis and Equity First that have been out there. We also have some sponsors too. Canopy Growth was a huge sponsor.
Shout out to Canopy Growth.
And I forget the other company is. Locally so far, I want to thank those that have come forward, definitely giving us the platform to spread the word, like VBerks. Thank you, VBerks. And this is the second time I was on the show last year to talk about this event, so it's so nice to again have continual support on social justice issues and ways to get the community engaged. And we have so far Vera Wellness, Simply Pure. We have Canna Advisors. Thank you. Munch Machine, which is amazing. I actually it's a hemp harvest machine. I don't know if you guys have seen them. It's so cool, but you put in it does the work of 8 people, and you like stick in some dried hemp as it's bucking. You're bucking it, and it pulls the buds into a basket, and it also keeps the stems and the branches, so that way you can make your, whatever you want, fiber,
Tables.
I saw this hemp stock in the Southern Hemp Expo. It's a huge boom stock, like walking cane. It was really, really cool.
Oh wow!
It's like,
I have
this
that
is
poster up here somewhere.
It's and yeah, hemp.
I'm gonna find my boom stock.
Yeah, go find
Tell
it.
us about the Southern Hemp Expo, by the way.
Sure thing.
Tell us what you were saying before about.
Yeah. So I was down at the Southern Hemp Expo in Franklin, Tennessee for its second year, and it was I had an amazing time. It's just fresh vibes. I mean, I feel like the bubble in the Mecca, which is Colorado, but to go into a new market and to like have the energy of like coming together and working together, because sometimes in established markets it's harder to work together. So it's just nice to be in a fresh environment. And this is so true. That's a great. So the thing out there, you guys, in Tennessee and in the South, is smokable hemp flower. It is quite the experience of just seshing around with smokable hemp, because THC isn't legal there, and so people wonder when you're passing it around, as you would, in a circle with your friends, is this THC or is this hemp? And it's really amazing, people seeing relief down there, as far as taste.
Are they all pre-rolls? Are they buying
hemp
or are they
flower
buying like bud and grinding it up and rolling their own
hemp
joints?
flower in those tin things. You've seen the tin packaging with the
Like
foil tops.
14er has
Like
those.
hemp coming out of there. Also, I saw like CBG flour rolled in king palms, so given to you in a glass tube. Blue One was giving, had those at the expo, which was really interesting just to see other cannabinoids being smoked, but yet there's not that euphoric feeling that we get from THC. So it was so interesting to be around like smoking hemp people, and then I'm like, this is just so different to how we do it out here in Colorado. But
Have they turned on cigarette machines yet, making hemp pre-rolls out there? Like, did you see people making like 20 packs?
cigarettes?
Yeah, hemp cigarettes.
I've seen hemp
I know
cigarettes,
that's
but not to the manufacturing of it, like being in hemp paper, like or hemp, you know what I mean, with hemp paper. I've seen it look like cigarettes in a box, actually, like almost branded like it came from Marlboro. It might
Almost
have,
branded like it came from Marlboro.
like the same little green, like packaging with the triangle. It was, but then here they're smoking the smokable hemp in pre-rolls, like joints. So you're just passing it around. I'm watching an interaction that people are like, here, do you want this? And it's like, oh, what do you got? Oh, it's hemp. And people are like, no, or yes. And then like people passing around other things and being like, what is that? And it's, so now it's like, what is this? When like we've only known what it was before there was, for me, smokable hemp. But it's actually a big market. They have I sat and I was listening on a panel, and apparently the market share for hemp smokable flower is like, someone was like, can you defend someone from out of state was like, can you defend your numbers? He's like, this is a smokable flower, and it's like here to stay. And you can get, we were talking about this, you can, with other cannabinoids, you can get some, and terpenes, you can get this, the feels of, smoking all the cannabinoids, including THC.
Right.
I did a dab of THCV, which is farther removed from THC than CBD is. Mm-hmm. They're much more like just distinguishable types of molecules that got really high.
Yeah.
THCV.
And then there's also like Delta 8 Like, you know,
Yeah.
what is that? Like, not Delta 9, but Delta 8. So it's really interesting, you know, that while it's all, the CBD is all the craze, you know, thinking beyond CBD. This is an amazing plant with full, robust flavors, terpenoids, flavonoids,
Yep.
you know, all that. So there's so much more that we could be doing. It doesn't have to be all about CBD.
Right.
Or THC.
Remember when the question was, oh, what is this, sativa or indica or hybrid or whatever? So now we have a whole different gamut of what is this?
Yeah.
We can go
Yeah.
to.
What is this? I know it is. That's true. It just became weights.
This is
Yeah.
Ricky Tikki Tavi,
Yeah.
Orange Kush.
It's gonna get ridiculous.
Outdoor grown, indoor
Yeah.
grown, like sun grown,
Yeah.
Yeah.
full spectrum, broad spectrum. Like there's so many, which you know, again, also really demonstrates the need for education. Not everyone's gonna catch even what we're talking about, but
No.
you know, that's why the show exists, and you can bring experts on to talk about their things.
Right. Right.
Right.
What do you think about making tobacco flavored CBD vape cartridges? Because that's the only thing that's going to be legal after they do what they're going to do. They're going to, all of these vape shops are going to go, unless they're doing something else in addition to vape shop stuff, like an entire industry is going to get just put out of business there, or they could stay in business and just sell a bunch of tobacco flavored vape products on all of their shelves, which the primary maker of that is Altria, owner of Marlboro and 45% of Juul. That's the response to that's what all of this in response to something that in response to vaping, lung disease, and 6 people in a year, as opposed to 480,000 people for smoking. In response to that, what they're going to do is ban flavors and only allow tobacco flavored vapes. It's ridiculous. And I think that tomorrow, I don't want to sidetrack us on this right now, actually, because I think tomorrow I might be able to do another show with a special guest who owns a vape shop, and hopefully I can talk him into doing it. And we're going to go into extreme depth about
what's happening.
About what's happening with vapes. But I'll tell you what, to get on the morning news every single day of the week for 3 weeks takes a huge PR firm. It takes a lot of money, like tens of millions of dollars. And this is a concerted effort to wipe out competition while you can go. You'll still be able to go buy your little Juul pods after this all shakes out.
Right.
We
saw that this last year. Just ridiculous.
Yeah. That's why we fought about 1076. Well, we fought about it because of dabbing. But that's my cautionary thing that I'd like to tell people is, I mean, be careful how much they carve out with this, because you could find yourself not able to do dabs. And it's not tobacco flavored. Yeah. Let's see how ridiculous they make it.
And just to be clear and make sure they understand, vaping is a rescue med for not just epilepsy, like it's my rescue med for epilepsy, but people with Parkinson's. In getting the high concentration of oil, flour no longer works. Right. And a good breakdown is flour is your Tylenol, your ibuprofen, whereas these oils are higher concentrated, and that's your opiate, that's your rescue med, and they've taken that delivery method away from patients.
Yeah. Chantix is out there to tell people to quit smoking slow turkey, which I do really like that ad campaign. I'll tell you that, Pfizer. Good job.
Did you see the one where he's gone camping?
Yeah, that turkey.
That turkey.
A whole bunch of people had quit smoking vape turkey, and if they quit smoking slow turkey, then here's the black box warning on Chantix. Serious neuropsychiatric events, including but not limited to depression, suicidal ideation, suicide attempt, and completed suicide, have been reported in patients taking Chantix. Some reported cases have been complicated by the symptoms of nicotine withdrawal in patients who stop smoking. Depressed mood may be a symptom of nicotine withdrawal. Depression, rarely including suicidal ideation, has been reported in smokers undergoing a smoking cessation attempt without medication. Bullshit. Well, I could see. Anyway, it's a black box, which means that this drug could kill you. That's what a black box drug means. Like, I used to work for a drug company, and we had an antibiotic that had a black box warning that said, this is totally going to cure your bacterial vaginosis. Might give you cancer. Not quite sure. But there's their FDA black box. There have been way more suicides since they launched. There 100 suicides or something. I think I've seen just from Chantix. Like Ray, who's seen what happened to Ray Liotta? Mm-hmm. Why did they replace him with the turkey? Did he kill himself? Smoking is. Once you start smoking, you're addicted to it, and you have to have alternatives to it if you're going to stop smoking. And vaping was a way for so many people to choose something else besides smoking. But what they've done is they've made it so that you can only buy cigarettes and tobacco-flavored vaping stuff. And, fuck you, Altria. That's what I have to say about that. And we'll talk about it more tomorrow. Yes. Sorry about that rant, but I did threaten last night that I was...
Yeah.
And fuck you, PAX. Fuck you, PAX. Because PAX, the people who started PAX, the awesome PAX dryer vaporizers, they spun off into Juul. And then Juul got bought by Altria. NASCAR sponsor, Altria. And and they bought half of a Canadian drug company, Kronos. That's what Altria did. Mm-hmm. So the only people who can weather this storm that's going to come on the vape industry because of 6 reported deaths are those who are used to defending lawsuits about cigarettes. Like how the tobacco industry is still in business selling cigarettes. After all of this time, that's the only person who can raise that hell. So every time that I see that, in fact, I saw news like Juul is sued by, people for yada yada. I bet they set that up to get sued by them. So be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That's how we operate. Yeah. But all of these vape shops that I see around here, just anywhere in America, some place that has a sign out front, vape, you're only going to be able to sell tobacco flavored stuff. It's and cigarettes presumably. But that's what's going on with that. And also we don't know what the cause of these 6 lung infections was, but 10 out of 18 of the vapes that the New York or the Washington Post reported on had vitamin E acetate, which was being used as a diluent. I hadn't heard of it until some big PR firm in New York bought their way onto television for 3 weeks and told people about, just started this. But then the New York Times the Washington Post picked it up. I've never even heard of vitamin E acetate. But we don't have it in our products. Mm-hmm. Don't vape oil. If actual oil. There's so many. They've destroyed this industry, though. There's no shiny way to spin this. All of these vape shops are going out of business. I don't see how they can stay in business unless they have a serious T-shirt game going on.
Or they do it other kind of CBD drops or whatever. But I've noticed, I've been just so happen to be looking for apartments, and I'm noticing in a lot of the leasing agreements, it says vaping is allowed. Really? Not now. If you're a cannabis, if they're trying to work with them, that's a little bit of what the wording is, but no flower. Well, what is a patient going to do with epilepsy? What is a patient going to do with Parkinson's or whatever they're dealing with, or intense pain?
just be careful, cannabis community, because they can. You might think that you've got a, hurricane that looks kind of. Here, I'm going to do some art. I need a Sharpie. Guatham, or may I have it?
You don't have a Sharpie.
I can't believe I don't have a Sharpie here.
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have to have a Sharpie to draw a hurricane picture.
Okay.
If you don't know the reference to that, you've been under a rock.
There.
Yep. Coming right at us. Cat 5.
Yeah.
But that's the current state of the stuff. Hopefully tomorrow, if I can talk him into it, we're going to do another show. It's going to be all about vapes with a friend of mine who is shutting down his vape store. And badass store, really cool store. But that's going to be the effect. That's what happened. Now you're still going to be able to buy your Juul pods and your blue pods and all of that shit at maybe the gas station, maybe company owned vape shops, like Juul owned vape shops type of thing. But and you'll still be able to buy cigarettes and alcohol and. But I love alcohol too.
It gives me
Just
seizures.
use responsible use.
Yeah.
If I indulge, I like to vape.
I'm an adult.
Glass of
I'm an adult in a supposedly free country, and I believe that I should be able to make my own decisions about what I put into my body.
Yes. I agree.
As long as you're not harming others.
Yeah.
That's right.
You shouldn't harm yourself, but
Well, as long as I stay off Chantix, I think my
Yeah.
my
It's crazy.
slow
it's the
turkey.
anti-smoking prescription drug.
Somebody check on Ray Liotta for us,
I
please.
don't like those commercials.
What's he doing?
Yeah, I know.
Like he started taking Chantix, and you haven't seen him since.
I don't know.
They replaced him with a turkey.
That would hurt my
Oh, that
heart.
commercial? The
Yeah,
blue turkey?
yeah.
Yeah. Quit smoking slow turkey. It's a cute turkey.
It is a cute turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good
that's how
job.
they get you with
Good
the
job,
media, they make
Pfizer.
it Cute.
Good job,
they get it
Pfizer.
cute.
Yeah.
So-
Thanks for the suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
Let's recap. Next Saturday, the 21st, there's not only expungement, but a job fair with Vance.
Banks.
Thanks.
Yes.
VANGST.
Yeah, I am never the one to pronounce anything. All right, anything else? And we
And
can
then-
go to the website.
Yep.
Yes.
And then also that this is a national week. So 30 plus cities happening, maybe one in your town, so you can look there and get involved if you're tuning in from out of state. And that it's a whole week. It's huge. So between the 21st and the 28th, there's a bunch going on. There's one in Albuquerque. Adding Rosalie Flores is going to put together a meetup to discuss the same thing. I don't know what the laws are different in every state, so it all depends. And then remember, if you want to get involved, this is a yearly event. This is a yearly National Expungement Week, so you can get involved and start planning for your own city.
Right.
Yes.
So September. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no.
September 20th. First, we're going to see them aliens. Then we're going to go to Mother's High Tea.
Yes.
The 20th, yep.
And
Mother's High
then
Tea.
September
I'll be
21st is
Expunging
expungement,
records. Or record sealing.
record sealing.
there. Right.
And
Our
then
record
it goes on for a week.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely contribute any way you can. We still need to get drinks and food for the day up for people.
And get the word out. Tell
Yes.
your friends. We all know someone. If you know anyone that might have had, or if you're involved with your church, and if you're in a community that's, might have been targeted by the war on drugs, you can bring this up. We're putting flyers around. We'll put the flyer in here. You can print this up and put this in somewhere. But right now, the importance is getting this to the people that need it. And that's why I thank you, VBERX.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, getting the word out. All right.
Well,
Some record to donate some money
Yeah. Come out and get a job in the industry.
to make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's all sorts of vape shops that are going to be available now. You could put a different kind of business in there.
Yeah.
A cigarette store.
Yeah. Wellness store.
Wellness. So we need to change the way of thinking. This
That's
is
right.
plant medicine, wellness, health.
A lot of our vape stores that carry that I go into also have CBD tinctures. They have kratom. They have other wellness type products.
Right.
So that's what my advice would be: is make it a wellness shop.
We didn't even talk about mushrooms today.
Ooh, something.
We did not. Oh, and tonight is this the psychedelic professional meetup
At
in
Mercury
Denver
Oh,
at
darn, I
Mercury Cafe.
forgot
I will
about
be
that.
there. That is hosted by the NOAC Society, which is like a society of like brilliant people, PhDs, researchers. I met an MD at the last meetup.
Yeah.
That's just so cool the way that we're talking about natural forms of healing. And we did. Oh, you put. Oh, nice poster. So there's more. So I'll just give an update. There's now, it's called decriminalizedenver.org is now SPORE is what we're calling.
Oh, I love it.
Of course. And it stands for something. It's Society of Psychedelic Reform and Outreach and Education.
Yes. I love
And research. So sorry, I might have got that, but that's what it stands for. But SPORE. So if you go to decriminalizedenver.org, that has now moved on to SPORE, and we are meeting with city officials. We passed this in Denver, Colorado last May, and we are working on meeting with public officials, law enforcement to talk about this. We are the first city to put together a 11-member panel that includes like law enforcement, community leaders, a psychiatrist. We did this, Denver's city voters. Thank you, because we're the first ones to have actual like a bouncing off sounding board, so we can talk about the impacts that actually this and track the impacts of what this has done. So much more to talk about, and I'm sure there'll be many more updates where we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Dive
Well,
in.
you are definitely one of our favorite repeat guests. and
Thanks
so
for having me.
We will definitely have another opportunity to have this discussion.
And you're one of
Absolutely.
our favorite first guests.
There
Yeah.
you
There you go.
Ebony is. She's one of my favorites.
Yes.
Period.
Yes, I when I get asked to do things, it's quite often if your name is on the list, I know we getting something done.
Yep.
There you go.
I know.
Yep.
I was like telling y'all, I'm like the
You're a doer.
background type person.
Yeah, but you're I have a term for people that volunteer for everything, but yet they never show up or it's some kind of issue. Those are coconut people. They're sweet, but they're flaky. You put them under a little heat and it makes them nutty. I don't like working, and they're coconut. So you are not a coconut person.
That's good to know.
For a minute, I thought you called her a
Congratulations.
coconut person, and I was listening you describe it. I was
And then you gotta listen some more.
And then she was like, "You are not that." And I was
You're
like,
not
"I'm
that."
good."
Yeah.
I was like, "That she's not." Okay, great. That was really funny.
No, you are absolutely never ever that.
I wonder what my blood pressure is right now. I bet it's about 190 over 120. But, yeah. No, it's not really. I'm doing fine.
I was going to say I do have a blood pressure machine.
No, I can't use those. I'm allergic.
You're
So I got my stethoscope,
No.
Oh,
no.
that's
my blood, my
right.
manual blood.
Yeah,
Good
there's
thing
been a
just-
time I was really, really glad that you were there during a medical emergency too, not just in planning and committees, but you've been there for a patient a time or two with me
For
too.
sure. I think one time I was driving in Denver, right?
Yes. Oh my God.
And there was like a homeless man in the middle of the road, and like Ebony is like, I'm following her. She like just pulls over, like stops in traffic, and I get out, and I'm just like, oh my God, and like there she goes, like tending to this like huge man on the ground who was like totally had an episode or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know. And she was like, oh my God, he could be having a seizure, is what she said.
Yeah, because he was literally just on it, like literally
On the ground.
in the ground, just on Park Avenue and
Broadway.
Broadway, yeah, Broadway, and, like
Right.
18th. Like
Right.
it was bad.
But yeah, I would want you around for emergencies and all the time. All right.
So, well, thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you, Julie, for setting this
Absolutely.
up. Thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having
Really,
us.
really appreciate it. And donate.
Outreach.
Outreach.
Outreach. We
And
need people.
Yes, we need bodies.
living like people,
Yes, please.
not dead bodies.
To be fair, we would like to, get their records expunged too.
and that's right. Record
Contribution.
expunge, job fair,
Record sealing.
voter registration is
Voter
what we didn't
registration.
say.
It's also, yep.
That's right.
It happens on Voters Week too. Within National Expungement, I think Voter Day is like the 24th. Yep.
All right.
So if you can stand outside for Popeye's chicken sandwiches, you can get registered to vote.
There you go.
Unless you don't live within, like, say, 100 miles of a voting place and you don't have a.
True.
Unless you're also a felon, then
Yeah.
you can't vote.
That too. That is.
But
And in a
Speaking
community
of
where they're
Alabama.
actually making it hard for you to actually vote by putting stuff 50 miles away from your city. So, yeah, we can
Yeah.
we can really get into that.
Yeah.
It's okay because they
Yeah,
need
that's
the
another show.
black and brown vote, so they'll make it work.
Yeah, isn't it amazing
Yeah.
how
They need our vote.
when they need the vote, here comes all the vans. Let's drive y'all to the polling
Exactly.
station.
We also
Oh
have
yeah,
money and funds for if you go places.
yeah. It shows up just it's a
Miraculous.
miracle.
yeah,
So,
2020.
All right. Well, thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you.
As always, I'm Travis Lippert, reminding you, if you don't get hemp here, get hemp somewhere.
get hip somewhere.
That's right.
Like get hip?
Hemp.
Help.
No, but like, is it supposed to be a play on words? For
Yeah, if you don't, there used to be a drug ad, like a drug
Yeah, if you don't get it
anti-drug
from
ad.
here.
Yeah, if you don't
it
get
from
help
somewhere.
here, get help somewhere,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
like a rehab
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, no, that was. I was like.